Yep.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Bloom Carroll Board of Education Planning Session. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Abbott?
Present.
Mr. Bratton?
Present.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Present.
Mrs. Sherman?
Present.
C, pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
D, consider approval of agenda. Anybody have any questions or?
Very simple.
Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion made by Jen Sherman, seconded by Mr. Matt Bratton.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
And Mr. Jimmy Johnson?
Yes. E, planning session. Hand it over to you.
All right.
Mr. Hahn.
Yeah, the first, Travis and I felt like as we were getting ready for this meeting, there were some things that we needed to kind of share with the board and make sure you guys had information about and some data to obviously understand where maybe some recommendations or our opinions are formed based upon our experiences and where the district is right now, and specifically, three areas: enrollment, finances, and then facilities. Obviously, enrollment really drives everything for a school district. It drives our revenue, it drives our funding, obviously, and it determines our expenditures, I should say, I'm sorry. But, our short-term plans, our long-term plans, really it's all based upon enrollment in terms of staffing, facilities, and then, Travis, tries to keep up with the enrollment and what that means on our, revenue from the state. So we're gonna look at some of those things, and of course, our short-term planning is looking at next year and what we need to get done this spring and summer. And then, of course, where are we, going in the next 5 years as a district? And we might be able to look a little bit farther than that with our enrollment projections. I told you guys in October, I felt that we needed to obtain some enrollment projections to help make some better decisions about staffing and facilities and look at that timeline. And I think we have that tonight. I kind of want to start with that and review some reports. I guess the first report, is on page 6 and 7 in your packet, and that would be our, and don't pay attention to my page numbers, I've got different tabs open here. But page 6 and 7 of your packet, maybe I'll just follow along that way. All right, we've got obviously our current March enrollment. Just some things I wanted to point out. That we're right now currently this month at 2,188 students in the district. That is up 68 students from the previous year, from 2021. It's about a 3% increase, just over 3%. Wanted to point out, if you look at the enrollment report on page 6, fourth grade and fifth grade, huge influx. 17 students in fourth grade this year, 23 in fifth grade. And then if you, you can see our open enrollment, we've continued to decrease that, and that is really through attrition, through the seniors graduating, large groups of open enrolled students in our older classes, and then barely bringing in any. Most of those are employees' children, or they are employees' children in the kindergarten, first, second grade, and we have, just 2 kids, 1 kid, 4 kids, 6 in our elementary in terms of open enrollment. And so we're really, we've really made a point to, obviously we want to be on the positive side of that. Open enrollment can benefit us if we have room. But we've seen a huge influx of students over the last several years. And right now we've got a good distribution. If you look at the enrollment report, you can see that 23% of our population is in grades K to 2, 25% of our student enrollment is in grades 3 to 5. 25% is here at the middle school, and 27% is at the high school. So we have a pretty good distribution in our facilities right now. If you go to page 7 in your packet, just a couple things. Obviously, I've kind of shared this at different times. I shared it back in October. Areas of concern, clearly, is the third grade with 183 students. We got to kind of monitor that fourth grade and see if we need an eighth section there. It's just something to keep an eye on. Not ready to, and we'll talk about this on the wish list. The fifth grade next year, you can see we have 179 students in fifth grade right now, but we only have 6 sections or 6 classroom teachers. The board has already approved the seventh, so that'll help. Because we have 181 fourth graders without any move-ins right now, moving into fifth grade. With seventh grade next year, you can see that we're going to have 183 sixth graders coming into seventh grade, and we'll probably need to bump that to 8 sections. That doesn't necessarily mean another teacher. It means how we schedule in the middle school in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. For example, we can probably take the number of sections in 8th grade down to 7 and move the 7th grade up to 8. So kind of flip-flop the number of sections of language arts, math, science, social studies to help balance that need, which will be more so in 7th grade than 8th grade at this time. 174 students will be moving into 8th grade. Your 8th grade and 9th grade your 9th grade and 10th grade next year will be large. We have 197 9th graders and 186 8th graders. I think at the high school there's some things that we're gonna propose tonight that we're probably gonna recommend to the board that we would like to be able to recommend to the board at an April board meeting to help with the 9th and 10th grade numbers, and also provide some relief here at the middle school and kind of serve 2 purposes, which I'll get into a little bit later. But that's kind of where we are. The areas of concern, again, 5th grade, we've checked that off. 9th and 10th, and then we're going to have to monitor some 4th grade. But just wanted you to see our current enrollment, and then we'll kind of jump now to what you've been waiting for, is this enrollment report. What page is it?
Just real quick.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
as far as the 9th grade,
Uh-huh.
just because it's such a large number, the 197, what was that last year? Do you know? Or it doesn't.
It would have been
show.
167,
Yeah,
like it would be.
No,
Let
I
me
mean
see.
that class.
yeah, 197.
Oh,
should be
eighth
right
grade.
there.
It
In
was-
8th grade.
It was 196 in 8th grade.
So it just changed.
Thank goodness. Because I was really worried about that last summer, and honestly, we lucked out there. That was the smallest class in terms of growth. We had 1 new student in that class last year. Again, 4th grade, 17, 5th grade, we saw an increase of 23. So
When you
And I,
typically see
I
that
think,
influx, though,
I think
it's
part of that was moving to a K-5 environment too,
Yeah.
Oh,
to the
yeah.
5th grade as opposed to having them over here.
Do you normally see that influx though over the summer? Like the 60 that came this year, do they
We,
typically come in the
we've been
summer?
averaging, in October, I kind of showed you guys over the last
75.
5 years, like we've been averaging about 65 to 70 students per year increase, but that also is a reduction in our open enrollment. Like our resident population, if you look at page 6, right here, you can see our resident population changed 90 students, but our open enrollment went down 22, giving us a net of 68. Yeah,
We were at 2186 in September,
yeah.
so it's truly, the influx has been coming in the summer,
That's
as
my
opposed to
fear.
throughout the year, which
That's my fear.
makes it a
Yeah.
little easier, but
Yeah, we're only up 2 since,
Most people wait to move till either the end of this,
Right.
most people are treading water right now,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
and sales are through the roof.
Yeah, so the enrollment projections, page 8 in your packet, it's several pages. I'm not gonna go through every page of that, it's 37 pages, but some things I kind of highlighted for the board, I just want to point out that the enrollment projections were developed using the cohort survival method. And the reports, the recommendations are based upon that as well. But the historical enrollment by grade, by year, the resident life birth data, census data, housing, building permits, those types of things. Just something I kind of highlighted here. I know this is small, but the enrollment in Bloom Carroll has increased by 358 students since 2012 and 13, up to now the 21-22 school year. Enrollment is projected to increase. I don't think that's any big surprise. There's a lot of things that can impact, on page 12, there's a lot of things that could certainly impact enrollment. The economy, zoning changes to property, they consider pandemics. Now, obviously, we saw, a lot of districts saw, we didn't see it as much as other districts, but children were withdrawing and doing homeschooling or online school. We provided that option, which helped to keep, most of our kids enrolled with us. Changes in grade configuration, all kinds of things. So, I think if you look at, if I kind of just jump ahead here, so the enrollment projections used, again, the cohort survival method on page 14, and what that means is, a cohort is a group of students that move from first grade to second grade to third grade, and the survival ratio is basically whether or not the student population increased or decreased as they moved through each grade level, okay? If you look through these reports, page 16, you can see the school district boundary maps. You can see the different municipalities, the townships that our school district overlaps. A lot of people forget we barely overlap a little bit into Liberty Township and Violet Township, but most of it is Bloom and Greenfield, and then you have the two villages as well. I'm not going to go through all this data, but you can see a breakdown on page 17 of students by municipality, where our students live. The population over the last 20 years, looking at the 2000 census, 2010, and then the basically 2019 or 2020 census data. Race and ethnicity, housing. I thought this was interesting on page 21. According to the American Community Survey, which is part of the census, approximately 94% of homes in the Bloom Carroll Local School District boundary are single unit structures, while 5% of the homes are 2 or more unit structures. Nearly 32% of the homes in our school district have at least one school-age child. And again, this is a lot of data, and at the end of the day, you guys want to know, what's the bottom line? What does it mean?
But I think that's important, because I think the housing information from this report, to me, is the most important piece of, because that's the stuff we just can't, readily obtain. The cohort survival ratios we already showed you on the enrollment report.
Right.
We can kind of estimate what that's going to be because we have historical data. I showed you the life birth rate data in October of kids born 5 to 6 years ago. We know about how many kindergartners, but in terms of how many housing permits are issued, and you'll see later on in this report, how many students per dwelling do we have in these developments? Because that's the key thing, I think.
It's for us being able to figure out how many homes are going to be built, and typically on average, how many kids do we get from
Well,
this?
the 350 of 32%, you're looking at over 100 kids, just on
Exactly.
that, and
Yep.
a lot of them are gonna have more than one kid.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So industry, occupation, financial status, who has computer and internet access by township, village, school district boundaries. School enrollment, you can see the impact maybe here, the percentage of age group enrolled in school, that went down a little bit. The percent of age group enrolled in a public school, and then the percent of an age group enrolled in a private school, that went down. Our public school enrollment went up. I think, I have seen over the years more children coming from private schools back to this school district, and that could be for a number of reasons. It could be due to financial concerns and the cost of private schools. It could be because maybe people are happy with the Bloom Carroll district and they've decided they want to put their children back in public schools. There's a lot of different things that could factor in there. Demographics, the county demographics, population estimates. I thought this was interesting. Page 29, the school age population change, 2021 to 2026, based upon census data, birth rates. This is what they expect in terms of, if you look at our school district here, this red area on page 29, this is not in our school district, so I don't want anybody to be alarmed by, that is kind of like the roundabout area of Gender Road and Lithopolis Road. That's expected to grow 10 to 15%. That would be Groveport and mainly Canal Winchester schools over there. But right here in Lithopolis, you can see about 5 to 10% growth, and only a portion of our school district makes that up. The light yellow or I don't know what it is, it's 0.1 to 5% in some of Bloom Township here, 5 to 10% in closer to the village of Carroll. You see a decline here of maybe 5 to negative 10%
In town.
in the, well, this is actually the southern part out by like College View in this area.
The
This
blue is?
this part is, this is Bloom Township.
Oh, there,
This
yeah.
would, yeah, this would be the south and east part of Bloom Township. And a lot of it is because those kids are now, they're already in our schools and they're gonna be
Right.
aging through. Which happened a long time ago, in the 80s and 90s, the same thing, it was full of kids and then they aged out, you know. In the village of Carroll, right here, parts of Greenfield Township along 33, that could quickly change, and one housing development could change that,
Yeah.
so that could change as well. But just wanted to give you an idea. The housing data, looking at permits, you can look at the 20-year history here of Bloom Township. Up to November of 21, there were 37 housing permits in Bloom Township, and those are not subdivisions necessarily. Those are single-family homes. Those are also subdivisions, is my understanding of that. Greenfield Township, you can see the number. It's been, it really boomed there in the early 2000s, 2010, and then it's kind of, been stable at 12, 11, 13, 14. Liberty Township, I wouldn't be alarmed because only a small portion of our school district is Liberty Township. A lot of that could be east of Pickerington, where homes have been built. Lithopolis Village, you can see really when Wagnall's Run started going back in 2004, as they built that development up. And then Violet Township can be very misleading because the only part of Violet Township is the village of Lockville on Pickerington Road is the part of Violet Township that's Bloom Carroll, so there's not a lot of homes being built right there.
It's amazing, early 2000, which,
Yeah.
that's when
Yeah.
the market was there.
Right. Let me kind of skip down. Travis and I talked about this, the resident live birth data by zip code 43105, that is Liberty Township. You have 43110, this is on page 32. 602 children born in 2020. 43112 is Carroll, and then Lancaster. And again, that's just not our school district.
Yeah, they didn't separate it out, but.
Yeah. So to put it in perspective, if you look at the map on 33, you can see 43105 is kind of that Liberty Township area, and there's our purple school district there on the map, is barely in some of those areas. Parts of the 43110, you can see Lithopolis 43136, and in 2020 there were 31 children born over there, according to the data. All right, so survival ratios. I'm not gonna. This is really small here, but you can see, for example, if you look at 2020-21, 4th to 5th grade, right there, 110.19% survival ratio. So that's that big group of 23 students that went from 4th grade to 5th grade. That's why it's more than 100%. Obviously, if you had the exact same number, Joe, what was you were asking about what? What grade was that? I forget.
The 9th grade, from 8th to 9th.
To 8th to 9th. So look at that.
It's just right on, really.
Right on, basically 100%. You see, we only had a change of 1.
Right, which that's exactly.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so historical enrollment, 21-22, right now we're at 2186. We have grown by 358 students in the last, over the past 10 years. Open enrollments in and out, we were on the positive side in 2021, we were plus 42 in 2021. What we don't want to do is certainly we don't want to be in the negative.
No.
It's getting tougher and tougher.
It is.
Gap keeps closing.
Projected enrollment. So they developed a low, moderate, and high and recommended enrollment projection for a school district. The moderate enrollment projections are based on a selected average or weighted average of the survival ratio. The low and high enrollment projections are developed using the statistical distribution theory, providing the district with a more conservative low and a more liberal high enrollment projection. The recommended one is probably the direction the district is headed based upon the current trends. I wanted to point out here that it should be noted that the actual live birth counts are available through 2020, which project kindergarten enrollment in 2025 and 26. After that, they're just using a simple average of the last 3 years. So really, 10-year enrollment projections can be really, really tough. You know, you're safe for 5, but you know, you're typically better off revisiting this in about another 5 years, or if you see a huge change. This company will, this fall, part of the contract, they will revisit to see how accurate they are. They'll analyze their own data and adjust if they need to this fall. So, you know, we should have more information too if there's any big change. Page 39, here is the recommended enrollment projection. Obviously, it looks much different than the OFCC projections in the fall of 2017. I've told you,
What were they? I forget. I know you shared it.
we're exceeding
We're already-
our
We're already there, right?
enrollment projections. In 2017, they gave us a 10-year projection. This year, we're exceeding our 10-year projection. Yeah, so after 5 years, okay? But I told you, I believe that they purposely use a low projection, like we have a low, medium, and high. OFCC doesn't give you that option. They give you a low projection, and that's because I think they're trying to be more conservative with their money and
Yeah.
spread it around to more districts so they
Sure.
can co-fund more projects. You know, I guess if you look at this, you know, this shows an increase over 10 years of 378 additional students by 2031-32. You know, right now, next year, they think we're looking at about 2245. You know, I'm kind of torn. You know, do you go with the recommended or do you go with the high projections?
These are basically in line with what our actual increases have been, anywhere from 50 to 60 really
Oh,
each
fine.
year.
Right.
I mean, it's manageable pretty much, but
But
it's,
typically, I mean, we haven't had like a ton of, you know, like suburban or neighborhood growth, and we're looking at major
correct.
neighborhoods coming in.
Correct.
Like the last 5 years, I mean, houses have gone up, single houses,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but a neighborhood's a whole different ballgame.
That's true.
And not only that, but the other thing too that I find curious is some of the, where kids have aged out, people retire, they move, and just the amount of houses that have been sold in the district where it usually is typically 1 to 2 children come on board.
Yeah.
I mean, where's the data to support that in that report? That's the one thing I want to
You
see.
mean kids who are not building houses?
Yeah, I mean, they're
Just-
just people.
They're just buying houses.
Yeah.
The housing turnover.
The housing turnover, I mean,
Yeah.
is there any stats that they were able to pull off of that?
There's really not, and that's been a huge factor in our district, is the
It's hard to-
1970s and
hard to
80s
get.
homes that are being
Right.
remodeled by young families and moving in with 2
But couldn't you
kids.
argue those summer numbers typically are the housing turnover, whereas what's coming is new builds?
We're currently just subdivisions, we have 350 planned units in
I
our
know.
district
It's
right
my
now.
concern.
But with the yield, you know, we're looking at basically a couple hundred students. Now, that's not gonna happen all at one time.
But they're saying 10 years, 350 kids, we're looking at 350 houses.
Yeah, that'll yield about 200 kids.
But they take
But those are-
into account.
but that's in there.
and everything.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but
So they still think with all that, there's only 350 kids coming in 10 years? Well, we had
based
350
upon,
coming in 5 years.
based upon the live birth data,
The kindergarten enrollment's kind of what holds it down.
yeah.
It stays, I mean, if you can see it here.
In the birth data from like 2020, if I go back, you can see like during the pandemic year, birth rates way down, the number of children in our district way down. So that produces a projection which is low in 5 years.
Right.
You know, I do think we kind of have a bubble right now, you know, but we're gonna find out real quick over the next couple of years how accurate, you know,
Did they do a free 5-year revamp?
What's that?
As part of this contract, I know you said they'll come in at the end of this year, but can they do like a 3-year
Yeah.
or 5-year, give us a discount?
Not sure.
Probably not,
Because
or
we're
they
gonna need
can,
it.
they can for a fee.
Right.
I just want to compare a couple things here. You know, if you look at, you know, our historical trend, this is pretty close over the last 10 years. But if you look at the K2 and the 3-5 breakdowns, and we'll look at our available building space on page 66, just as a quick review of where we were in October. But, you know, this is manageable. And what I mean is, if you take the 515 in K2 and the 593, that's 1,108. We ended up designing that building, it was on the ballot for 1,000. Well, we used that same money and got room for 1,200 kids.
Right.
You know? So, you know, if this holds true, we could be okay for 10 years with the K-5 building. The middle school, in May of 2021, just so you guys know, in grades 5 through 8, we had 723 students in here in May of 2021. You know, I think, you know, about 717 is really about the max of this building. Yeah, you can
What do you
stuff
say, 717?
717, yeah,
680 was the official number by OFCC, but still, you know,
yeah.
just kind of point of reference, but
Grades 9 through 12, you know, that's where we're gonna have to look at some things, which we're gonna do here in just a bit, but, you know, with some different options, we could be okay if this holds true. The moderate projections, one thing I wanna point out here, the moderates, enrollment projections, show an increase of 374, which is only 4 different than the recommended.
So that 10 years saying 17% increase over the next, I mean, total over the next 10 years.
Is that
That's
what
their
it is?
finding, is 17%?
378, the recommended is showing 378 students over 10 years, but the low,
You're saying that's an increase of 17%?
Over 10 years, yeah.
yeah,
What was it the last 10 years?
358.
So, I mean, what was the?
We-
what was the-
so that'd be a higher percentage because we were lower, but
Yeah.
Be about the
But we're
same.
talking 20, possibly,
Yeah.
and it won't be exact, 20 kids difference. That's pretty consistent with our last 10 years,
Okay.
you know. Again, same thing, if you look at the configurations, elementary could potentially be okay, middle school could be okay, high school, we're gonna get into that here in a little bit. The low enrollment projections, honestly, in my opinion, I think these are the ones that you can just toss out.
I 100%
You know,
agree.
I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on them.
Please don't.
2361, that's showing an increase of 175 students. I think in the next 3 years, we will cover that, in my opinion. The high enrollment projections, now, I am not a demographer, but if you look at this, if you look at where they're projecting us, okay, this is 593 additional students over the next 10 years, to go from 2186 up to 2779. A couple things, the grade band distribution, 526 in K to 2 plus 627 is 1153, right? Mr. Bratton, your CPA, so 1153, technically the elementary's getting real tight, that's a lot of kids to have in a building, but you might be okay there. 730, I would say we're barely okay at the middle school in 10 years, and the high school, we got some things to talk about, okay? If the high enrollment projections prove true. Now, in 2028-29, 7 years from now, that's showing 2691, all right? In October, just using some basic, simple math, I gave you this spreadsheet in October, and it hasn't changed since October, and I showed you the number of classrooms available, some flexible spaces that could be used, the available student capacity, based upon the open classrooms, our current enrollment back in October, and then the maximum student capacity, okay? So the available student capacity in our 3 buildings right now gave us about 505 more students that we could take on. The maximum student capacity was 2691. So the district was averaging about 70 new students per year up to that point. So if you took the available capacity of 505 students divided by an average of 70 per year, that gave us 7.21 years before we were at our current capacity of 2691. If you go back to the enrollment report,
That's giving you that in 7 years.
the enrollment report, what's going on here? If you go back to the enrollment report, 7 years, they're telling us 2692. So off by 1 potentially, just using the average, you know what I mean? And then they're factoring in all these other things that we don't have easy access to. Again, just something to take a look at. Technically, 526 and 627 in our K to 5, again, 1153, right? So I don't know, it's gonna be, I'll tell you my opinion about those enrollment projections. And, but I think we should look at the subdivision yield analysis as well. And those numbers can be a little bit different because they use a different method, but these numbers are factored in They're factored into our growth, okay? Basically what it did was it took every subdivision, every village, every condominium complex in our school district, and it broke down where our students live in what subdivisions, and then it divided it by the number of units to give us a yield. And the findings was that with the student potential, with the active and planned housing developments known at this time, the potential reaches about 270 total students in grades K to 12. And again, the influx of these developments won't happen all at 1 year. It'll happen over time as the development grows and as the students move into those homes. Not every home will be done at the same time. It could also include, they really stress this, they see this with a lot of school districts. You could have a family in College View that's living in a smaller home that moves to a new development where they are building a bigger home. And it may not be a new student moving into those homes, it may be an existing one. And then you have somebody move in that doesn't have a school-aged child yet to the home that was vacated. So those things can all factor in as well. I think these maps are neat to see the density, the population density.
So that's Carroll, right? The town of Carroll's being considered.
Right here in the middle is
What's
town
the
of
other one
Carroll.
below that?
This is Pine Hill. This is Pine Hill.
So Greenfield's not on there?
Greenfield is right
that it?
here.
Okay,
Yeah, this is College View down here, and this is the village of Lithopolis.
could be a lot worse.
Okay. This is in 2020. No big changes in our district, right? This is 19 and 20. No huge changes there either. For the purposes of this study, there are 1,051 K-12 students living within the district, but not within a subdivision that are not included. This is just to give us a yield, okay?
So is that half?
What's
Almost
that?
Almost half are not living in it?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. So, basically, some things to look at here. In single-family units in subdivisions, there are 1,730 units. All right, you see that on page 51. There are 985 students living in those 1,730 homes. That gives you a yield of 57 students in grades K to 12. All right. Condominiums, we basically have one official set of condominiums. That would be Stony Bluff back behind the preschool and learning center. All right. There are 24 units. There are 3 students that live there. Obviously, a low yield of 0.13 per unit. In the village of Carroll, village of Lithopolis, that's not in a subdivision. Wagnall's Run is a subdivision. Rolling Acres is a subdivision. So they're taken out. Then you're just looking at other homes in the village. You're looking at about 0.35 students per unit in those homes. The average total units, 2,154, 1,100 kids, 0.52 students per house, basically, is what you're looking at. I think, in our district, when you look at houses being built that are not part of a subdivision, in my opinion, this 0.57, there's no statistical proof that I have right now, but I would feel like somewhere around 0.5 is accurate for the homes just built along a township road or a county road. But that's what we didn't have, and that's what's really, really helpful.
Right.
There's some maps, page 53, it breaks down every housing development, it gives every housing development a number in our district, and then on page 54, you can see what that number represents, there are housing developments on here, subdivisions that were built years ago that I didn't even know the name of. I didn't even know they were considered a subdivision. You can see the yield for each and every subdivision. I kind of thought what was interesting, like, there's some new homes being built on Lithopolis Winchester Road called Zoyer Woods. There's 27 units there, okay? So what does that mean for us, right? If you took 27 times 0.57, that housing development should yield us about 15 students, all right? If you look at, if you think of Bluebird Estates, right in the village of Lithopolis, on Lithopolis Winchester Road, close to the Waterloo Road intersection. I was over there and I was thinking, like, hey, there's 30 homes back there, as you can see on this report. There's 30 homes, and out of those 30 homes, we have 0.30 students. So that could tell me that 30 times 0.30, there's roughly 9 students living in that. So that was a new development, and when I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do with all the kids, right? But it ended up being 9 students.
And it kind of goes back to the fact,
Yeah.
families those families might have moved out of college. I
Yeah.
knew two of them that did, in building Bluebird.
There you go.
No kids.
Yeah.
But they built bigger houses, nice house, and
Yeah.
they sold college.
Hawk's Nest on, I thought, Winchester Road. When those were built, I was like, oh my gosh, we have tons of kids back there. I remember walking around, knocking on doors, passing out levy flyers, and every house I went to at that time in 2017, we don't have kids, we don't have kids, we don't have kids, we don't have kids. There wasn't one kid living in that development. Now, Hawk's Nest, we have,
Still not many.
not many, 20 homes times 0.30. I should do that right. 12 kids, is that right?
No,
The most interesting page so far. is
Yeah.
54.
20
Six.
times 0.30.
6.66666.
Yeah, 6 kids living back there, right? So just, this is really neat. You can see which housing developments, have the most. I'm thinking, where is the RI Grimm subdivision, number 39? And I found it way over here off of Ginder Road.
And that's skewed because there's only 5 units. That's just,
Yeah, so it's way over
There's this-
here, barely, off of Ginder Road. So, again, just something kinda, that gives you a good idea. What I wanted to jump into here. So here are the housing developments, or a breakdown by grade band and how they round them, okay, so it's not an exact math. These are the housing developments that are planned right here. You've got Zoyer Woods, you've got Wagnall's Run, the phase like 4 and 5 or 5 and 6. You've got, this is Stonehill Estates on Brant Road, and then you've got, I forget the name of it, but it's down on Carroll Southern. It is the reserves at Farm Creek. So these are ones that have been approved by regional planning. Stonehill Estates, 66 units, will probably produce about 40 kids for us. The reserves at Farm Creek, about 23 students. Wagnall's Run, 219 more units, will produce about 127 students using the 0.57. And then Zoyer Woods, the 27 homes will produce, and these numbers are, again, rounded, so it ends up with about 17, comes out to the 207 new students. So, again, just some things to look at. What does all that mean? What changes do we need to look at? How does that impact our facility plan? I don't want to jump ahead. There's some other numbers I want to look at to kind of lead into the wish list tonight and why we're making some recommendations. But, briefly, I think we can hold steady with the available space we have for a couple years and see if these numbers hold true. And the concern's gonna be, I think, at the high school next, and what can we do there? And Travis and I wanna kind of get some direction from you. Travis, is there anything you wanna add about the enrollment?
just the
Reports.
subdivision data, I think, is important to, and to continue to track that as we can see new kids from those developments to see if it's truly holding true.
Other reports, the special education, it's item 1.4 in your packet. It is, it's on page 60 of the packet. So you can see we've been tracking special ed numbers all the time. These numbers have changed, I think, by 3 or 4 right now, but as of January, in grades K to 2, we have 15 students with Mrs. O'Donnell, 15 with Miss Dobbins. They kind of split the K to 2 kids up a little bit in terms of case management. The Ohio Administrative Code recommends no more than 16 on a case management for an intervention specialist.
Is that K-12?
Actually, grades 9 through 12, it bumps up to 24, but that's honestly insane. That's a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of IEP writing, okay? Especially with the high school kids, when you have transition meetings as they transition out of special ed and from the high school into career or college. But grades 3, 4, and 5 would be Harrison, Roberts, and Mason. 14, 19, and 15, we have posted a long-term sub position for an intervention specialist. We had one applicant, and the applicant didn't have a license as an intervention specialist. So this is going to be something that during the wish list we come back and look at, especially in grades K to 5. You can see one thing I want to point out, Mrs. Mason has 15 kids that will be moving into 6th grade with Miss Harris, but Miss Stortz in 8th grade will be losing 10 special education students to the high school, but she's going to get 16. 7th grade will have 12, and sixth grade will have at least 15. There were 4 students back in January that were being evaluated for special education services, and a few of them have qualified. So these numbers have gone up a little bit at the elementary level, okay? Let me share this with you real quick. It's another page that wasn't in the packet. Special education numbers. So, grades, 13 grade, those would be kids that, you're allowed to stay, students with special needs are allowed to stay in school to the age of 22. And some of them do stay at 19, 20 years old. They're in different programs where it's more career related, but we're still responsible for their services, that maybe they do part of the day at the high school or in a unit, and then they go out and they don't actually receive their diploma yet. They're still in this school system, okay? So you can see the different areas that we have to service. Behavior and academic would be the ones that our intervention specialists are dealing with here in the school district. That represents that 152. It was 151 on the other page. Related services, adaptive phys ed, speech, occupational therapy. This is not what they're technically directly responsible for. We have people that provide those related services. Students in the ESC units or at Forest Rose in our district, we have 23 total at those units. So the Career Center, we have 15 in grades 11 and 12, and one that's post high school. Eagle Wings would be an alternative placement. We have 6 kids out there, and students on scholarship like the John Peterson and the autism scholarship. We have 18 students in our district that we're still responsible for their services and their IEP. So wanted you to be able to take a look at that.
So you said, go back to the one slide, you said, what's the recommended 15?
16 in K to 8.
Okay.
Yeah. But some of these have been identified this year. And we have tried, we posted the job several months ago, and
So
we
is that-
have no applicants.
Is that caseload getting split up then between the 3 of those individuals at the school?
Where they can, yes. I've talked to Mrs. Freeman, she keeps me updated. They know that we're we've got the position posted, and we're trying, and we can't find anybody, and they understand that, what's coming, what I'm gonna be talking to you about here in about 15 minutes, to help relieve some of this, okay? Bus ridership. Why? Because we're going to be talking about positions and bus purchases and routes and things like that. Travis has some better data. Where did I get this data? I got it from our transportation department. These are high school, middle school route sheets. You can see the bus number and the capacity of each bus, and you can see the load count. The load count is the students that are actually assigned to that bus, that have signed up for transportation and where they've been assigned, okay? And I also have that for the elementary routes. So I tried to condense it into a spreadsheet here. You can see bus number 2 has a capacity of 71 students. The elementary load is 52 students are assigned to that. That's not how many are riding every day. That's how many are assigned to that bus. That bus is 73% full.
What do you think the average is?
Travis has got that. He's going to show you that. And then at the middle school, high school, for example, 56 are on the 71 passenger bus for about 79% full. Okay, you can see at the elementary level, we have one in the 90s. We have a couple in the 80s. Bus 18, bus number 3, those are not full, but they're getting to be a high percentage. And then I want Travis, can you jump on that?
I think you have to jump off. So each October, ODE still requires us to do a transportation count. So literally, the bus drivers have a sheet each morning and each afternoon, and they will write in the exact number of riders that they have on each of these given days in the first full week of October. These numbers are directly from our transportation director. This wasn't anything I compiled. So if you look on your packet at her capacity on bus 2, she's saying that the elementary load is 52 on average. So here on this row right here, it's not 52, but it's kind of close. But the high school, middle school load's 56. You can see we're nowhere near actual riders as we go through. I got an average of 34.8 high school, middle school on this route, and 46.4 elementary. So here are the true capacity. Now, certainly it could be skewed a little bit. Would the first week of October be any different than the first week of May? I don't think so. I mean, you got fall sports, different times during the year. You might not have as many kids going home, but these morning numbers are pretty consistent, in my opinion. So as opposed to 73% elementary, I'm going back to the packet here, and 79% middle school and high school. These are the numbers we reported at ODE. 49% full in the high school, middle school, and 65% at the elementary level. The one bus 13, I think that we had the highest capacity here.
Yeah, elementary said,
Yeah.
on the route sheet 90, 92, but look what.
We're at 44% capacity at the high school, middle school, and 77% capacity as opposed to 92% within these. Now, certainly you can see there are a couple 81s, 86s. I'm not saying that there aren't some worry spots here, but do you do routing? Do you add buses? Do you add drivers based upon how many kids are routed or how many kids are actually riding based upon a weekly study? It's a tough call.
Like a
but
supervisor will look at it and say, boy, I'm gonna recommend to Sean and Travis that I think we need another driver and another route. Well, we're gonna buy a bus, right? You're gonna employ somebody, pay benefits, everything. And the actual ridership, if you go out and stand at the schools and watch the buses pull out, when they're looking at the route sheets, they're saying, man, if every kid rides, it's gonna be tight tonight.
Right.
But what is actually happening
Yeah.
on an average day?
It'd be interesting to do that in October and then to do it like April.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
When
agree.
gas prices hit $5.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
the parents-
That's a
I'm
good
not
point.
kidding. Like,
Yeah.
people are gonna be like, you know what?
That's a fair point.
So, I see what you're saying though, do you shoot for the middle?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably somewhere in between is.
How late do you wait to make that call?
Well,
I mean, because you're gonna see enrollment increase in,
Yeah. Well, I
June,
mean,
July.
Travis, we've talked about that a little bit. I mean, when we get into the wish list and you see what's being asked for from each department, we gave all that to you last meeting. We reviewed it briefly. We're gonna tell you, here's what we kind of think how we need to approach this. And then if you guys disagree, you need to let us know. But, we wanna make sure that you guys understand that how the decisions are being made, you know what I mean? And that we have data to back some things up, so. Yeah, I'll jump back on here.
Travis, what was your totals at on that though, for your number, compared to her numbers? Cause she had 79%
Oh.
for elementary and 68 for high school.
It was 64 and 49. Our high school, middle school routes
It's
are,
15-20%.
yeah. So if we kind of went in the middle.
Right.
Yeah, all right. So basically, so what are the staffing needs based upon our current enrollment projections? What are, other areas of concern? We wanted to make sure you guys had all that information. We'll kind of transition here to the second section, part 2 of our meeting, which is the wish list. And I'm gonna let Travis, is this sheet okay, or do you have a different one you want to use?
Oh, yeah, I just gotta get it.
Let me jump back off.
No, you're good.
Okay.
I just couldn't see
I'll
that
just
good.
kinda jump right over.
So we've talked about the wish list, and we've pared it down for where you saw it on March 14th. Again, what we're comparing it to is line 87 through 92 in terms of how this translates into our budget, into our forecast, into our permanent improvement funds, any one-time, which is what the OFCC and ESSER grants are funding this year, things like that. And we've pared it down. We had 851,795.73 additional funds. And again, this is outside things that you've already approved, which would be the turf replacement and the 5th grade. That's already in there, so we're not, this is an apples to apples comparison. And we feel good about where we are with, the capital outlay. We can kind of, between the general fund and the permanent improvement fund, I think we're going to be okay in terms of funding that. I didn't break it out because I'm not sure exactly how I want to split it between those two funds. Personnel, quite frankly, is the one area that it scares me a little bit. In the forecast, we had 135 in there, which was basically 2 teaching positions. I did have a new route in there. We don't have it recommended because at the time I thought it was inevitable. But within the personnel, and I will kind of let Sean go on that, but we do have some recommendations based upon the information that we've shared so far during this meeting. Everything else is kind of, again, we're able to do some extra things with this OFCC grant and the ESSER grants. Purchase services are a little higher on the wish list. I was not expecting the seeding and the Keller Farms and all the stuff that we were going to have to do out on the both at the new building and out front here. That caught me a little off guard, but I think it's manageable. But beyond that, there are a couple of things that we could hold off on. Again, I'm not talking about personnel, but lines 59, 60, and 61 are all dependent on if we get this grant. We can easily push these off if until we do to get the grant. However, 58 and 62, correct me if I'm wrong, just for cyber safety reasons, are really needed according to our technology department, with or without the grant. And then line 71, as we continue our one-to-one replacement, grades 6 and 9, we are able to use ESSER funds to do that, which obviously takes some strain off of our general fund and our permanent improvements. So with that, I'll kind of go back, Sean, with the personnel recommendations.
So just to go through this, your packet is not highlighted. Travis just has the line item and the dollar amount for the ones that we're kind of recommending, but I just want to go through this a little bit. And, you know, if you look at the wish list, there's about 11 different positions being requested by different departments. And that potentially is about $360-some thousand of requests in personnel. And that doesn't go away. That's not a one-time expense.
Right.
It gets higher the next year because they're still going to be employed, and it's going to get higher the next year. And again, it's a wish list. And we have to make some tough decisions. Not everybody agrees, but I try to provide the board with as much data and background so you understand where the priorities are, in my opinion, in Travis's opinion, and what we're sharing with the board and the direction we think to be fiscally responsible and be able to meet the needs of our students. What should we be doing? And a couple things, I'll just kind of work through this. Lunch monitors. Lunch monitors are clearly right now, it's important. Grades K to 2, we have educational aides that are being pulled from the classroom to assist in the cafeteria. We have 2, and that she would like to have another person in the cafeteria. Mrs. Pease would, so we can leave our aides in the classroom. I don't really disagree with that. The supervision is important. Grades 3 to 5, Mr. Rozeski is also asking for a lunchroom monitor for the playground as well. So at the elementary school, additional lunch monitor, that would give them a total of 3 for grades K to 2. This summer reading program, you guys have already approved this. This is ESSER funds, not something from our general fund. Maintaining funding for STEM supplies, easy to do. There's several aides that are teaching some STEM specials out there, and they need supplies to be able to teach that. We think that is something we need to move forward with. I'll tell you why I'm not on board with the assistant principal at this time in grades K to 5. Administratively, we're understaffed a little bit according to comparable districts. One thing we did a couple years ago, with the grades K to 5, you don't see a lot of violent types of behaviors typically. When you got 1,100 students, you may have an incident that happens every now and then. And there's some outside services and wraparound services that you provide for those students. But rarely do the discipline situations result in suspensions where an assistant principal needs to sit down, fill out suspension forms,
Right.
that kind of stuff like you see at the middle school, high school. Also, they don't have activities 2 or 3 nights a week. They have 1 PTO meeting per month. At the middle school and high school will have at least 2 events a night, Mondays and Thursdays,
Yep.
from August all the way through into March. At the high school, you'll have 3 to 4 events per night, and you need coverage.
What is their reasoning for that? Is it discipline? There's got to be a reason.
When you have an incident, and you have the number of evaluations, the Ohio Teacher Evaluation System, they feel like, you know, Mr. Rozeski has added fifth grade, you know, to his load. He had third and fourth grade before. For years, he had 320 students. Now he has 500 and whatever it is, you know, 500 and.
Well, to the point, he's had that all along.
550 students. She
Right,
has had
she's
that all
had it
along.
so.
But we put a counselor and social worker in there to help with, get the students refocused, get them calmed down, get in touch with the parents, provide services, see if there's more extensive outside services that need to be there. And now being in one building, that counselor is with them every day. And you guys added that counselor for a fifth day. It was a 4-day a week, 2 days at the primary, 2 days in my
Right.
Bobless. Now they're all together 5 days a week. We also have our special education director. Some of the behaviors you see are sometimes children with disabilities.
Right,
And our special education works out of that office a day or two a week, and so does our school psychologist. So they're right there as well.
we have Jody doing,
And now, so,
Right.
yes, and
Okay.
Jody's doing evaluations.
Yeah.
So the association and I worked together to allow Mrs. Pease, Mr. Rozeski, and we added Ms. Raniger, who's technically an ESC employee. They have agreed to allow her to do evaluations. So they each have a third of the evaluations
Teachers,
out
right.
there to take some of that load off, okay? Travis and I think this is something we're gonna have to really watch. We're not far away from, it would have to be a special position that maybe only work teacher days, like a dean, you know what I mean? That could handle some of the things going on, maybe not a 215-day or 225-day assistant principal. They can handle the summer planning and work. They kind of feel like maybe we need some more help when students are there for the 175 days. So you could look at doing a dean of students, reduce the cost, but we might be within a few years, we might be needing to add that
That's a
type
great
of
idea.
position. Yeah, so you save some money, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They don't need to be there in June, July, and August.
right,
You know, typically it's somebody that maybe is seeking a,
Wants to get experience. And,
Yeah.
So it's easy to hire somebody.
Right.
yeah.
yeah, like a first year, yeah.
So, the elementary school, no huge request here. This fourth grade one could be an additional expense. We're not recommending we approve this. This would not be an additional position. Our policy committee, and our gifted coordinator, we've been working with her, Mr. Rozeski, and the third and fourth grade teachers to get our gifted services in third and fourth grade aligned to fifth grade, which aligns it to grades 6, 7, and 8. Our gifted intervention specialist, you guys approved the transfer from GIS to a fourth grade position next year for Mrs. Hunter that's retiring. We could take that GIS position, we would be servicing kids in enrichment classes like we do in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. We could use that position hypothetically as an 8th section of 4th grade this summer. And I keep telling you, we gotta watch 4th grade, we gotta see
Yeah.
what the enrollment does. So that would address the 4th grade
So
there.
we're given an 8th section.
Yes, that would
Okay.
give them an eighth section. The way I
Is
see
that the
Travis
same
is no.
lunchroom line, or is it up top?
No, this is for grades 3 to 5.
3, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and that's based upon the hours they work,
Gotcha.
2.75 hours per day on student days. That's what that would come out to, the cost. They don't receive insurance or retirement benefits.
So they can get somebody to do that for $3,000?
Couple hours a day. No, 6,400. And then the other position, one position is 6,400.
Oh.
So the K to 2,
For each
and then
adding
3 to
one,
5.
okay.
Some curriculum materials here, Mr. Rozeski wanted to purchase. Middle school, okay, so what does this do? This is an additional teaching position. It'll be unique, but we went to a job fair at Capitol. We found a candidate that could potentially fill this position as a social studies teacher / intervention specialist. If you remember, if you go back in your packet and you look at the middle school special education caseload numbers, we need some help there in the
Right.
middle school as well, okay? So just having somebody for 3 or 4 periods a day as an intervention specialist to write IEPs, provide services, that helps the middle school. How does it help the high school? Well, if we put somebody with a social studies license over here, Mr. McKinney, who is teaching social studies, can go back and do all science.
CNIS?
No,
Oh,
he's a science and social studies license.
oh, gotcha, okay.
But if we bring in a social studies teacher, he can go back and do all science. The science teacher, Mrs. Roberts, that is coming over here 2 periods a day for science will no longer be needed over here. So you take those 2 sections of science, leave Mrs. Roberts in the middle school, or in the high school, because 9th grade has 197 kids in it.
Yeah.
You're gonna need more sections of physical science.
Yep,
It helps out the high school with the need they have over there. So we're getting a big bang for, for that one position. And Mr. Conrad and Mr. Young, and myself, Travis, we worked on this and we feel that this is the best fit. And there are some people that are social studies teachers that they always pick up an intervention specialist license
Right.
because it's hard to get a job in social studies. We're a dime a dozen. I mean, there's a bunch of social studies, 7 through 12 people. So we could find one there. That's ESSER funding for the summer intervention program at the middle school. At the high school, we really want to get going with this leadership program again. We've been able to sustain it a little bit through the pandemic, but there's more we can do with that. We've been allocating money each year, the board has, for the leadership program. Mr. Thompson and Mr. Conrad, this is an area of the building that our current facility plan would maintain the gym and the office area. There are 2 restrooms outside of the gym that they need some love.
They're in bad
They
shape.
need some love.
I'd like to see
You know,
that.
so new vanities, stall
They need a-
dividers,
A facelift,
new toilets,
Yes.
Some paint,
yes.
They think they can do that for around under 15,000.
That
It's,
just
they're
doesn't
bad,
seem
they're so bad.
That's what I thought, but
I don't know.
What'd you
Dennis,
say?
That just
doesn't seem like that much.
I don't think so either.
It needs a whole facelift, man.
Yeah.
For both bathrooms, I mean, I feel like that could be one maybe.
So what happens if you come back and you have an estimate of 20,000, we can adjust it, or is it?
Maybe we'll get some more information before the April meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for the facelift. I
Yeah.
just-
Maybe they're doing most of it. Like,
And this
maybe
isn't
there's no
typically
labor.
something that the board would individually approve. The board would approve the capital expenditure in some positions. The personnel positions have to be approved separately, but typically we ask the board to approve the recommended wish list.
Mhm.
But I'll give you an idea. I mean, there was a trailer that you guys approved for the band last year, and I think we allocated like 12 or 13,000. Well, the actual bill now, after the cost of materials to make a trailer, it took 9-10 months, is
Yeah.
15,000.
Right.
So, Travis has to make those adjustments internally, so. We kind of think there's some things here, the asbestos abatement, in the main entrance of the high school, the cafeteria, the ceiling grids, the first floor hallway going down to the media center. We think that,
Maybe.
potentially, we might be able to do that next summer. The tech thing we've got figured out, we don't need to make that move right now. It's just something between Mr. Conrad and, needing additional space that we need to move the tech office out of the high school at some point. And I think that's part of moving over here for the district office over there. And putting maybe transportation over there, technology. They're not really in the district office right now, and they typically are. So,
Is that in here?
I'm sorry.
So if you move the district office, and have you thought about those costs? I assume.
Not in this wish list. Yeah, because I don't think we need to move the district office for 2 more full school years. So in the 3rd year, we might need to start getting out of here and getting that ready. Yeah. Maintenance, just a bunch of items. One thing the board, if you want to hold off on, Travis indicated here in line 44, the seating at the playgrounds out there, they got a late start on planning in the spring of whenever it was, the spring of 21, or no, in the fall of 20. In the fall of 20, they did some planting. It was late, it was November, it didn't come in real well. They came back, they reseeded in the spring of 21, but they didn't do it until June. And by that time, it kind of got dried out. The grass really hasn't come in the way we were hoping. It has in areas. But Dennis got a quote to reseed, hydroseed the playgrounds out there, so we have more green space this spring. But there is a price tag on it, and that $36,000, as Travis said, bumps us up in purchase services. You have it under purchase services?
Yeah, it's a service. It's
Bumps
not
us
really
up 44,000 more, but overall we're under budget. But it's gonna, it's gonna put us out of whack a little bit. We could pull that off if you guys want to. That's why it's in yellow. Special education, intervention specialists at the elementary school. You saw we got a teacher with 19. Everybody's pretty much at 15 out there. We need it. To me, that's probably our first or second priority position, is an intervention specialist in grades K to 5. Okay. School psych needs help. She's seeing about, honestly, her workload on average, she really needs about 11 hours a day.
Is that Kitty wins?
Key wins to get her work done. And she's seeing about 200 kids that she has to provide services to. The state recommends about 150. So some things we can do there. I've already been in touch with the ESC throughout the school year. We can contract with them for a school psych that I think works at Pickerington 3 days. We could pick up 2 and pay that portion of,
Smart.
contract for it. So Katie could have help a couple days a week.
What, New Horizons, I know we contract with them.
Yeah,
Is
the
that-
problem is we have before, they have so much turnover.
Okay.
It becomes more work for
No,
a
I
special
get it.
education
Yeah, it's
director.
just somebody-
Yeah.
Right.
We've tried to contract for some services. My first year, we brought somebody in to help Katie, and they had like 3 people in the course of the year. By the time she'd get them halfway situated, you know what I mean, they'd be gone.
Oh,
Yeah. So this would be more consistent. The school site, Pickerington, Liberty Union used this individual, and they've done a really good job. There's just some curriculum materials that we need there. We talked about technology. If this grant doesn't come through, we could pull off a few of the things. Actually, I think Mark Thomas said we need the multi-factored authentication for security. We might need to do
Oh,
that
yeah.
anyway. Was that one of them, Travis?
I forgot to change it.
Okay. We could hold off on the laptops here in Miss Cottle's room if we needed to save 21,000. I think, Travis, what's that out of PI?
Yeah. Well, again, it's part of the,
You have it included right now.
I do.
Yeah.
It's online. It's all in PI. I mean, again, I'm gonna separate some between general and PI, but I just don't know how the breakdown, but we're well under with the amount we have budgeted. The 152 minus the 54, we're
Oh,
about 98,000.
okay.
We're about 98,000 under budget in
Okay.
capital.
And then finally, you guys looked at the transportation numbers. You saw what was requested. We think we need to monitor this. We're not convinced right now. You know, and some of the concerns were about developments that are being built. Well, those homes are not going to be ready in August or
Absolutely.
November.
Right.
They're getting the infrastructure in. Some of them haven't even broken ground. Zoyer Woods, they're starting to
They
cut
got one
the
road.
drive, but they gotta run all the utilities first before they even start building homes. So we think we just need to hold off on that for now. Travis typically buys 1 or 2 buses or leases 1 or 2 buses.
Yeah, we're gonna try, we got rid of 2, but they weren't on any routes, so this will be adding 1. We hope to get back to maybe 2 next year, but that would just be 1.
So, bottom line here, what we have recommended, it does include, or it does not include this one. It does not include the contracted sub.
How are bus drivers in terms of subs and things like that? I know. you know,
Decent right now. I think we got about 4. We're doing okay. We haven't had issues for a while.
I mean, I know, again, you go back in the fall, there were several
Yeah.
bus routes that were just
Yeah,
canceled.
and a lot of those were impacts due to other medical issues, people on leave, due
Right.
to surgeries and other things that were going on. But right now, we're doing okay. Yeah. Bottom line here, Travis went over it. Wish list, everything we're recommending, 778. In the forecast, 851. We've got a few accounts that we need to just be aware of there. Okay.
You were talking about the hydro seeding.
Yeah.
Well, if you take that out, at some point, it's gonna have to happen.
Yeah,
You gotta
I-
spend something on grass seed, so why not do it right and get it
Yeah.
over?
I agree.
And right now, we got a quote, we could get on the schedule to get this planted, and rope off, put up some safety fence
Right.
and allow it to really mature, because we're not even letting kids play.
Right.
They're on the mulch and blacktop right now because we don't have any grass, it's muddy.
I've heard.
I think we need to get some grass in there.
You're gonna spend 10,000 on grass seeds.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's-
And then the front.
And we've got
you
to
see-
work out here, up
Yeah,
front.
we're cleaning up the primary, we've not got that ready, but we're gonna put down some topsoil, seed that as well, have some more grass space here on this
So does
campus.
38,000 include,
It does
No,
not.
it's,
Is it on?
the out, yeah, it's in here, 41 and 42. We had Jones Topsoil it was cheaper to go through them. 41 and 42,
Yeah.
almost $8,300, $8,400 to do out front. So again, I think it was kind of a combination of those two that I just wasn't,
So Keller Farms is also doing that.
Yes.
It's just not part of the 36
Yeah.
or 30.
It was cheaper to get the topsoil from Jones,
Right.
and then they'll come out and hydro seed,
Mhm.
and it's very expensive to have them. I think they were getting their topsoil from Jones.
Right.
So they were,
Right.
yeah.
Where do you guys feel, I mean, 73,000, right? So where do you guys feel comfortable
We've spent a lot more some years. This isn't, this is probably one of our lower recommendations. My big concern is the personnel costs.
Yeah, yep.
The number of personnel that was requested and that we're approving. It's a
So,
lot more.
so would you be comfortable, I guess, so in the budget's 850, so you're about 10%, what I would call just contingency, if you will. Is that
Yeah.
normally where we're at, or,
Yeah.
again, I would flip it on the other side and say, you're telling me there's not another 70 grand in there that you're gonna be spending?
Well, this is 73,000 under budget.
No, that's what I'm
So,
saying.
okay, I see what you're
I'm
saying.
on the flip now, like,
Okay.
well,
Should
what
we
else,
spend it?
what
Oh.
else do people have that we could potentially?
I
do?
think you gotta be, I know, personnel scares me too, though.
But again, I'm not saying personnel,
And you have
maybe
it just in
exclude
case.
the personnel, but are
Right.
there other non-personnel
Like,
related?
are there any other little things that we can get?
Yeah, Mr. Hunt, the
I
thing that
think-
scares me though is even on those numbers, and to that point, like our special education numbers have gone up a lot in the past 4 years or so.
Yeah.
I mean, is that something where we're gonna be in a position next year where we take someone more than men to come in, into the district, and that's gonna make that number go up higher, and we're back in the same position we're at now, approving for a part-time or, whatnot?
Yeah, I think that these positions, in terms of the intervention specialist, half-day here at the middle school and out there at the elementary school, I think that'll take care of us for a few years. I really do, based upon our enrollment projections and our enrollment numbers, and you look at the percentage of students that are typically, we're about 11% special education in our district. Not 11% attend in our buildings.
Right.
That 248 represents 11%. We have 152 that the case managers at the intervention specialists are responsible for. So, the high school has plenty of room. A lot of kids end up, reaching their goals. They're signed out of their IEP. They're monitored, but you see in grades 3 to 8, is where you typically see it now. I think because of the pandemic, the lack of socialization, speech, development, we're seeing increased numbers in grades K to 2. Students that, just haven't been in the preschool services, and they're not reading where they need to be. They didn't have those pre-K experiences. A lot of parents kept their kids at home. So I think we'll be okay, though.
The other little thing, not little, but thing non-personnel wise that we do have to keep in mind, it makes me a little nervous, is right now we have the benefit of the doubt, obviously with these CARES Act grants, that we're able to fund an entire year's worth of purchases for the one-to-one.
Right.
At some point, we've got to get our permanent, it's not there yet, our permanent improvement fund has got to get to a level where we're comfortable funding that because now we're in it, and we need to keep funding that every year. Plus, we really need to get back to 2 buses a year, and I don't want to get back into the leasing. Obviously, we did it with the turf and the lights and well, not the lights, but the tracks. So the big ticket items we take care of. So I want to get to where we can comfortably fund the one-to-one and the 2 buses a year, at least 2 buses a year.
So I was gonna ask you that, the buses, do we not normally lease them?
We've got one more payment on the old leases. We've gotten out of the leases. That's why we've done one the last 2 years, but we purchased them outright.
And the big part of that is.
It's cheaper that way, isn't it?
It is.
Until a few years ago, we didn't have any permanent improvement money. Now he's able to use PI money to
For
purchase
buses.
buses.
Yeah.
And we were just leasing them out of the general fund.
It's here for that levy
Yeah.
that we passed.
So if we take 73 minus the 38,000, that still gets us, we still got a nice little cushion.
There's a
if
cushion,
something
because
comes up.
there's going to be, that's assuming every employee costs, you're seeing an average, 55,000, but our starting, step 0 is 40.
Right.
If they're getting family insurance, you gotta add $25,000 on top of the 40.
Yeah, the insurance is hit and miss.
Somebody comes in at $60,000 on our pay scale, now add 25,
Right.
you know what I mean? If they're on family insurance, so you just don't know, there's such a variable there, what the personnel will actually cost.
The 73,000 includes the seating, right? I thought
Yes.
it was different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It does.
You're saying 38, but I thought the seating was 44.
No, the seating is 36 or 38,000,
Just at the new elementary.
just at the,
Oh,
Okay, I was just there.
You're talking about the primary, is,
The
you're
40,
adding the primary into that, right?
no, the primary is separate on line 42 and 41 and 42.
Yeah, okay.
that's right.
About 8,300 out there.
And then.
So you're right, we're gonna be about 45 grand total with,
In height.
Total.
yeah, in seating, which,
But like here, I guess my question would be, like, I'll just pick one out here, incinerator removal.
The reason why,
So I get, but I'm just saying, if you had 73 grand, it costs 10 grand to,
Yeah.
I don't know what it costs. to
well,
run it,
part of it
why not
is,
do it?
if we think that we can use some funds to do the asbestos abatement,
And that-
there's gonna be some health requirements with removal of an incinerator from your boiler room.
Right.
So
you're trying
if
to-
we're gonna make that kind of a mess, let's do
just
it when
do it
we're
all.
tearing
Yeah.
it all
Yeah.
out,
Okay,
you
yeah.
know?
But that's what I mean, like, are there other
Right.
things like that?
That's true.
Yeah. I don't know, I feel okay, the personnel, I'm concerned about the personnel, will probably be okay. I mean, I'm probably more cautious about that and to a fault, you know, but, overall, I think we'll be okay.
And you have other new positions in the forecast, right? Or no? These are-
What I have in the fort now, we've already got the 5th grade taken care of, was 2 teaching positions, and I thought we were gonna have to add a route. So I had 135 in there. I didn't have the
But
one,
moving Lister helps, right? Because initially last year, we were talking about adding a 4th grade.
true.
Is that what you're talking
True.
about? Like for a year ago, we were talking about having to add a 4th grade teacher, but now we're using Amanda Lister instead.
Well, we knew fifth grade was coming.
Right.
We
Right.
approved that, Travis has already got that one built in. I'm just saying that we could add a 4th grade section really without any additional
Adding a
cost in
teacher.
today's
Right. Right.
fiscal year, you know?
I think it looks good.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there's gonna be items that, I mean, if you guys disagree with anything, let us know, but there's gonna be some of these positions that we bring to the board in April for approval, so we can get hiring, okay? So, all right, let's kind of jump into section 3. If you can follow me here, holy cow. A couple of things about facilities. The 11-month walkthrough of the elementary school is scheduled for April over spring break. There's a day that Heapy Engineering, Summit Construction will be taking a lap around. We'll be basically creating an 11-month punch list and agreeing what needs fixed. There's little things, you know, the weather stripping on some of the doors isn't holding up. They need to fix that. You know, right now we've been okay, but the roof on the low slope roof on the back of the second floor media center, we've had a few water spots, and, you know, we gotta make sure that that's being addressed. Summit's been great to work with. They're actually using another subcontractor now besides the one that installed. They've kind of just said, look, that's enough, we gotta get somebody that can get this taken care of. Some real minor things, a couple tiles that are popping up in the art room, they need to be resealed properly. So that's what's gonna be going on here in April, and basically that job will be completely closed out at that point, in terms of the work that needs to be done. So, again, what do the projections mean for cleaning up facilities? In my opinion, I think we continue to monitor annually. You know, we have to consider when OFCC comes to the district and says, okay, you're eligible for CFAP, the Classroom Facility Assistance Plan.
Right.
We were told in the fall at the planning session I shared with you guys that OFCC said we were 4 to 5 years away at that point. If districts lapse or if they pass on their funding, they don't want to run a bond issue, or they can't pass a bond issue in 13 months, the state moves on to other schools. So I think at this time, you know, if they surprise us and come back in 3 to 4 years, I think it would be hard to turn down that
will be-
opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, they would come back to us someday, but it could be a long way away, all right?
Well,
I think if they come back in 3 to 4 years, we enter the facility planning process with them again and figure out, are we okay with K to 5? Do we need to add does that become a pre-K to 3? And now we build a 4-6 somewhere, and then we do a 7-8 on this campus out here with a 9-12 addition, you know, with a 9-12 in this building with some addition to the 8th and 7th grade section. Those are all things that I think we just hold steady based upon our enrollment projections.
they're saying 4 to 5 years. I mean, what is it typically?
Well, they told us 3 to 4 years about 4 to 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So people are taking advantage of it. That's why we're still low.
And,
They have funded a lot of projects.
And a lot of times they'll go back to districts that have deferred, especially larger districts, and
Ask them
it
again.
kind of pushes us down. Yeah, so you think you're closer than what you actually
They
are.
look at us and say, your community can afford to build schools. They're only helping us like 18% on projects. So there's other districts that
But
they.
that money will be.
But we have 18% of, 40-some million dollars that we've spent on this building so we don't want to just
Turn it
you
down.
obviously turn away from it either,
What
but.
is it? Is it close to 10 or 8?
Yeah, it should be a little over 10.
To- Yeah, to give you an idea.
10 million,
in
right?
our-
Is that
in
what you're
our-
talking about?
Yep.
In our 2017 facility plan, right, K to 5, go 6, 7, and 8, turn this into 9 to 12. To build a 6, 7, and 8 building, it was about 21 or 22 million dollars. In the state, if we were in CFAP, was going to be giving us about $10 million of credit from this in the elementary school.
Right.
So we would have had to come up with about $10 million to build that building. That would have been such a low millage rate. It would have been the lowest millage rate compared to this middle school project and the elementary project. That would be the most affordable. My concern is if our enrollment projections, the high ones, stand, do we have to revisit our facility plan, which
If
I
that's
believe
even
we
gonna
will
still
have
run.
to. It looked
Right.
good 5 years ago, now here we are, what's it gonna look like in 3 years?
Right.
So do we have to revisit and say, okay, we need to modify this? I think that we're gonna have to, our enrollment projections from 5 years ago, again, said we could get our high school in here. I think this could still, and should still, in my opinion, become our high school someday, with the auditorium, with the gymnasium. But right down here at the end of this swing where this playground is, I think we need to add maybe 10 to 12, 16 classrooms, that would connect possibly to a 6, 7, and 8, or to a 7, 8 building.
Is this already plumbed, like the elementary? The roof on this end?
But in terms of addition, no, there's no
Yeah.
plumbing down at that.
Okay, I didn't know if that was,
Yeah.
because we have it at the other one.
We do,
It's ready to
at
go.
the end of the hallway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does OFCC take into consideration inflation in numbers again?
No, it
We just
doesn't.
No.
We just said
No.
But they will do, when you get into CFAP, they do another enrollment study.
Right.
They won't use cooperative strategies, but, so inevitably, this current number that we're using was based on their old projections. So when they see our actual enrollment, they will take that into
Wasn't it
consideration.
like 101 and you called them, we got like 106, or 1006 or something? Remember when
Yeah.
we were doing the levy and you called them and said
no,
redo
we
it? They gave you like
appealed.
6 kids.
We appealed it.
Yeah.
We
Right.
appealed it, but they gave us like,
I want to say it was like 6 kids.
it was like
Are you
12,
serious?
more kids.
Are you serious?
And it was
That's
like
On our-
hours and hours of work.
Right.
It's like,
So again, here on this page, I put this on here because I wanted to show you where we're at, how much more room we have. I think we can get 7, right now, if our high enrollment projections last, I think we can get about 7 years out of our current facilities. And that would include, at the high school right now, we have intervention specialists that have their own classroom. We have an MH classroom that takes up a classroom. We have a tech office that takes up a classroom. So I think if we are creative, and in most school districts, there are people that share classrooms because an intervention specialist
Right.
isn't with kids first through 9th period in their own classroom. They're out in other classrooms.
Right.
So we can do some creative scheduling that we haven't had to do at Bloom Carroll, but I've seen it done in other districts that I've worked in.
But we did have an art teacher on the card, so we've come a long way.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it-
So I think we could get maybe 100 other students in the high school, okay? And that does not include using the 5 classrooms in the modulars in the district office, plus a smaller 6th room, which could be an intervention specialist room in the modulars. We can move, our STEM lab takes up a classroom. We could move that to the modulars if we needed to. You know what I mean?
You talked about moving tech too, right?
Yeah, and tech would go to the
Classroom,
district
yeah.
office, so that opens up, potential space. But I think we can get, I don't know, I think we just need to hold steady for a couple of years. We've got the space we need right now. I don't want to jump into a new facility plan that makes no sense 2 years from now.
So if you're estimating 7.5 years, then we're looking at a possible levy in 4. Because you're looking at 3
well,
years to
no.
build and do the, you need a, right?
No, because where our capacity is at the high school. And I think that we can stretch this out even longer. We can stretch it out even longer, potentially, based on the numbers,
Right.
by allowing the district office to be used. This number right here, the 700, does not include using the district office, the 6 classrooms over there. So we could probably bump that up a little bit. This was the facility plan, I just kind of explained, and I always apologize to Travis. In my world, it's phase 2. When I started as a superintendent, it's really phase 3. The middle school was phase 1, the elementary school was phase 2. And then phase 3 would be what would be the last part of our facility plan. And this is an old slide from 2017. Again, it was always communicated that there would be a separate levy request when the need was there. It was to construct a 6 through 8 building where the existing primary and the old junior high was demolished on Beaver Street, convert the existing middle school into a high school, addition of a high school instrumental music facility that was cut off at the end of this wing here, the addition of a vocational agricultural facility, kind of on the back of the building. I've got some different ideas now about where that could go. Natural gas to the science rooms, in my opinion, based upon enrollment, I think this would need revised. I think you build a new wing with classrooms, with science classrooms, rather than just converting what we have. There's already natural gas in this building, but it needs ran from the kitchen to the 4 science classrooms. Honestly, we need more than that. We need more science classrooms than that, and I think that would be part of
Your addition,
potential
yeah.
addition.
I thought you were gonna keep, go ahead. I thought you were gonna keep the ag room, the existing.
Over there, not over there.
No?
We would need to add one here, because that part of it, that was actually scheduled to be demolished.
I thought it was just the classrooms, no?
Not the ag classroom. Renovate the current middle school labs into family and consumer science. We'll just have to see down the road. And repurpose the existing high school for the district office. So someday, we'll have to leave there. And while that's being converted, over here, the cafeteria, those 4 classrooms in that hallway, we'll have to probably go back into modulars somewhere. We could put modulars at the elementary school and work out of there for a few years while renovations are done at the high school to make it a district office. Keeps the gym for community use for extra practices
Absolutely.
at the high school. That's a good gym. The floor was just redone about 12 years ago. Those types of things.
You might have mentioned, I missed it, but again, because we pulled it out of phase 1, we still have to fund the demolition and abatement of this
Right.
building, so.
That would have to be part of this next.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This was a concept of 2017. This is not an actual plan. This is just a concept of, how this campus could be used. And the reason I say that, is just because you have to think about space. But this was a concept of building a 6, 7, and 8 building right here.
Yeah.
Here's the existing middle school. We're sitting right here, but you got this academic wing. But I think you would need to be able to put in another academic wing here, add 12 or so classrooms, 20 classrooms, who knows, and then connect it to maybe a 6, 7, 8 or a 7, 8 right here. At that time, it was a 3-story building. If you go look at Upper Arlington, they've been able to build on landlocked areas creatively, and you got to build up
Had to go up.
sometimes. Of course, you have elevators, but this would be like the middle school parent drop-off. They'd exit back out. The buses would come in and use the blue area to line up here. Kids would come out of the back of the middle school, get on their buses, or sidewalks going all the way around. The high school students would come out here, get on their buses that would line up around here. The buses would circle out and go out on their routes. There's an opening here kind of in the Arboretum near the district office. The parent drop-off for the high school, they would come in the back here. There would be some revisions, some curbs put in to this back parking lot. The parents would drop off here. The kids would come in the back of the building where the buses go now, and the parents would loop back out and then exit out of the facility. Here's the part of the high school that we would continue to keep. The 2-story academic wing would come out, and this would maybe be visitor parking. This is a high school student parking. That was just a concept to get to phase 2. That's not the actual plan. But none of you guys were on the board in the fall of 2017. Jen, obviously you were very involved in the levy at that time, as were others. But this was phase 2 that was part of that. Okay. Some things to consider in terms of location. Would be available land that we have to build on. If we have to throw in another elementary school, where would you put it? Do you, over in Lithopolis, the concern, OFCC basically said this is not a good site for building. It's 5.3 acres. The courts are down here, the building's here, this is Market Street. This part is in Lithopolis. The 2.3 or 4 acres that we own across the street are not connected. This is a road maintained by Bloom Township. These parcels are actually in Bloom Township, not in the village of Lithopolis. This is the village of Lithopolis here. It's a sloped lot. You've got playgrounds, you've got detention ponds, you've got all kinds of things you have to do now. They typically recommend about 20 acres for an elementary school. This is 5.3, okay? This is the other acreage across the street. I don't know what we're gonna do with it long-term. Love to hear suggestions, ideas, if anything. I've had people approach me on behalf of other entities wanting to purchase this. We felt like until we know what our facility plan is, it wasn't good to give up an asset like that unless we could really use it to our advantage. This is over at Roller Field, and there's obviously some things about Roller Field. It's in the northwest corner of our school district. It's Cedar Hill Road, obviously. There's a cemetery there. There's site distance issues. There were intersection improvements that had to be done in front of Failers. There were some limitations on the soils, way more so than what actually ended up happening at Carroll Eastern. This is our Carroll Eastern property. So you can see we've got about, this blue shaded area represents about 27 acres that's undeveloped right now. Obviously, this worked out really well. We built an elementary school. We didn't have to displace our K-4 students when we were building. It's been a good site. We've got, it was a good place to build. We got tennis courts for our high school kids out of it. Our high school ag students are using it clearly for their ag program. There's one access point though. There's one access point in and out of this. If you ever build another school out there, you'd have to have different start times and end times. The impact on the ag program, 130 kids in the ag program every year out there. They still have enough to farm, but they have been impacted, So there's 27 acres that's opened out there. And then, do you purchase? Do you purchase land? Is that an option? And to me, if you're gonna do that, you've gotta have a centralized, in my opinion, a centralized area with water and sewer access. And you gotta be able to have realistic traffic improvements made to that area. And one thing I learned in the last project was you start with water and sewer and where it's possible and where you can make traffic improvements. I've learned a lot. For years people said, there's not enough sight distance. Well, guess what? You can have a speed limit change, and guess what? You can even shrink that down even more when you have a school zone speed limit. When it's 20 miles per hour, the sight distance changes compared to when it's 55 miles an hour. So, to me, would I love to see another school built in Bloom Township near the center of the district someday, whether I'm here or not? I would love to see that. But where's that going to be? And, I can continue to work with utilities director, with property owners, with the engineer's office, and see if there's anything out there. But I am concerned about besides a 6, 7, and 8 building out here, what do you do for the next building that needs to be built? If another elementary school, if you have to split your elementary school, what do you do? Huh?
I mean.
It could be 10, could be 10, we don't know, right?
I mean, look what's available too. I mean, you're sitting on 20 acres. I mean, you just might have to get creative.
Right.
Again, easements and things, we have tried, this area here, every superintendent's tried.
Yeah.
I've tried, do you use this as leverage? Do you use this property or a portion of this property that could be tied to the this owner right here? Do you take a portion of this and you do a land swap if you can get, a portion over in here to improve some of your facilities? I don't know. I'd love to hear ideas and opinions, but I'm curious, a lot of things. I'm curious about, like tomorrow I have a meeting with the Fairfield County Transportation Improvement District. And this connector that has been talked about for 10 years between I-70 and Allen Road, Parkway. I expect that it's going to become more and more of a reality. It's going to connect I-70 to Route 33 to get product and semiconductor products from Intel in Licking County down to Route 77. I'm on the Regional Planning Commission. I participate in the Transportation Improvement District meetings, and I think this Intel development over the next few years is going to make Mid-Ohio Regional Planning make Route 37 and 161 and a parkway from this area to Licking County much more of a reality than the vision it has been. Google is building right here in Lancaster. You know, how will Intel and Google right here, this data center, impact this area? It's not in our enrollment projections,
Right.
and it could be upon my retirement, but I think it's gonna change. You know, I think it's gonna change. So, what else? Let me gather my thoughts here.
I think we're at bus compound.
Yeah,
You talked about that before.
yeah.
Athletic Diamonds on Carroll Eastern.
Yeah, the bus compound, you know, if you guys have ideas, Jimmy had a great idea. I don't know if we could ever get the property, but someday, you know, this is working out. We got buses parked over here at the primary school for now. We've got some back here. We've got some in our high school bus cage. We've got some at the houses of our bus drivers, but we don't have a true transportation hub, you know, near the center of your district. It would be great if we could do a lease purchase on a building that had an area for an office, for a secretary, a transportation supervisor, that you could put fuel at, have a pump, have a tank, you know, have electric to plug into. I'll just say it, there is one place, Jimmy brought it to my attention, but I don't even know who owns it and if they're interested, but on Coonpath Road, there's an old Sunbelt rental shop next to Dollar General on Coonpath Road. And there's a 3-bay garage, there's an office area there, there's a large fenced-in area.
Right by the career center.
Right next to the Career
Yeah.
Center. And talk about getting to 33, getting out to the parts of our school district, that's a great spot.
Yeah.
I haven't approached anybody from there.
I talked to them, Sunbelt still owns the property, and
Yeah.
as of right now, they're still using it.
Yeah, it looks like a bunch of wood pallets out
Yeah, they're
there.
bringing in the wood mats for pipelines and so forth,
Mm.
so.
Something like that, if there's an area here in town that, you know, some kind of area, I mean, we need something like that. You know, when you think about, again, the school district, you know, here's what I thought was, you know, here's Carroll, and this is our school district. So in the future, you know, where do we go? You know, right now the population, you know, is about 60-40, 60% over here in Bloom in this area. And it's gonna continue to grow, and Greenfield Township will slowly grow. But, you know, where do you put a school? Based upon the land that we own, where do you put a new school? You know, do you go over here to Roller and have those issues? You know, do you go on Market Street where you got 5 acres? It's not gonna be a very big school.
Right.
You're not gonna have much parking, you're not gonna have much playground area. You know, should the district be looking at purchasing land?
Right.
Land that, and, you know, whether that's a $500,000 or $1 million investment, 20 years ago, it wasn't super popular to buy Carroll Eastern. But, and people still have mixed opinions about it, but look how we benefited
Worked
from
out.
it. It did work out, you know? I don't know. And then the last part, I want some direction as well. I guess I want to hear, do you guys want us to pursue the modulars for the high school, the primary school for a district office? Is that something that we're comfortable with, that informally, you know, kind of saying like, look, this is how we're going to get through the next few years?
I
You
think
know?
it's a great idea.
I do too.
Building
Use
sit
what we
there,
have.
Use it, and, you know,
Absolutely.
We'll have some minor costs. When I say minor compared to construction, I mean air conditioning, I said, you know, maybe put carpet in the classrooms. You know, we can use existing furniture, You know what I mean? It's already wired for technology. We got cameras over there.
I think it's a
That's,
no-brainer.
that's the
I don't
key
know.
right there, the technology aspect
Yeah.
of it, is where your cost of units are hooked up. So,
And
Well,
I think
it
it
frees
needs
up
put out there
modules
that
for-
that's what we're doing,
Yeah.
trying to save money, trying to use what we've got, so
Yeah.
when it comes time 10 years from now or 7 years.
Like, we did our
from now,
best to use
This
our,
is what we.
allocate our resources.
Yeah, I just think right now to say, let's just jump back into a new facility plan with OFCC. Let's test the waters and
Totally
run a levy to
premature.
see what we can do. I mean, to me, I think you're talking about, you look at all these schools that are trying to build projects right now, they're running 20-25% over budget.
Yeah.
It's not a good time. Inflation is bad, costs are up, and we have room. We have to, you know,
Yep.
it's not perfect, but we have some room.
And I think it's kind of going against what people were told when we built the elementary, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that elementary school was built because we absolutely had to have it,
Right.
Yes.
you know? And I'm
Well,
not
we'll
saying
be in that situation.
we don't wanna get
within the
that
next 10
bad, we
years.
don't wanna get that bad, but
Right.
if we can be responsible and, you know, we all live here, right? We all pay taxes, people forget that sometimes,
Yep.
you know? I think we gotta be conservative, but provide what our kids need, and I think, you know, some adults can move to an old primary school and work, and we can make use of some decent, I kinda like my modular, it's kinda nice.
I think it's a
You
great
know?
idea.
It's better than the second grade classrooms were. So, last part, I'd like some direction on this as well. We had looked at, you know, here's kind of a shot of, don't worry about this tributary area, this dash, but this is the complete Carroll Eastern map.
Yep.
And you know, we got 27 acres back there. We got this green space right here. This is kind of just green space for, you know, if rec organizations want to use it, when and if it ever grows in. Gym class, you know, can go out. Teachers can take kids out in the grass area here. That's what it was kind of put in for, you know, gym soccer and kickball and that kind of stuff. So here it is a little bit up close. This is where the swale is for drainage around here. And we talked about this in October, but I didn't get a feel for what you guys want to see. I'm not saying I am a proponent of this. I'm not an opponent of it either, but there are some things to think about. If you guys, like, over at Roller Field, we're playing middle school baseball, right? We replaced the backstop. The field is now put back together. We've got some dirt on it. They're hanging the fence today. It's gonna be playable in the next, you could play on the diamond now if it wasn't wet outside, but the backstop's gonna be finished. I'm not saying that's the best long-term option for our middle school baseball teams. I don't know what is. But, you know, if you look at middle school baseball or JV/middle school softball, this was just a rendering. If we did some excavation and some changes, how much space it would take up. It would eat up that green space that we built as part of the project, but we could use the existing drainage area. Honestly, this baseball field would need bumped a little to the south and a little over. You need more space between these diamonds and along the drive right up here. You'd have to bump them out. So the shadowed area, or the grayed out area, represents an outfield, and you can see how much that would take up from the existing area. So we're bumping into the ag program. And some things I just want to think about is, you know, is this something the board wants us to try to develop in the next few years? Do Travis and I need to be looking at, you know, trying to obtain services, set up funding within our budget to build a couple diamonds out there?
Well, this is just my own thought, and I think you have to take this into consideration. This goes back to the point that you discussed earlier. You know, was it 27 acres, I think?
Yeah,
You know, we talk about real estate's precious in the school district, right? At the end of the day. So if you're talking about, you know, we're sitting here 15 years, I think you have to look at this long term. Are you gonna be able to leverage that remaining acreage to?
If there's ball diamonds there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, I mean, just as a land swap to maybe hopefully one day be able to land swap back behind the football field to
Yeah.
connect something here.
right.
To where, I mean, it's really a facilities thing, right?
Yeah.
Or do you want, I think you have to look at it long term too. You know, I think we all are in agreement that we are gonna grow over the next 15, 20 years. So do you look at making an investment in buying land as well? I think there's other factors that go into it when you're looking at that, and I don't disagree. I think that we need additional athletic facilities,
Mhm.
but I think you have to look at it from a facilities perspective. You have that 27 acres. Do you use that, you might have to build a school on it, can you use that as leverage to get the additional land behind here, throw in a couple $100,000 set for that growth. So I think there's a lot of areas that you have to really consider.
It's worth exploring, but.
Yeah.
and it takes a lot more
I would
discussion.
not put that as a high priority,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Well, so some things to look at, right? You can get a feel here using a little Google Earth. Here's the concerns I have about right now committing to a middle school baseball or middle school softball and JV field. The impact on our ag program, I know you have seasonal kids and rec kids that would use that facility, but we have 135 kids a year that are using this land lab. And I know Mr. Brandt, the farmer that helps us with this, has plenty of land, and he has said that I could work with the district to lease some land for our kids to farm very close here on the north side of Carroll, okay? So it would be a change, they would still have land, maybe more land than what they have, to you know, maybe look at that option. I just want you guys to be aware of that potential, okay? Safety, does it encourage non-driving age students to walk to the site from the middle school and high school? You know, there's no sidewalks out there, and that's because there's no right-of-way out there.